January 28th, 2014, Gulf County Board of County Commissioners now in session.
Thank you. Sheriff, would you bow with me, please? Lord, as we bow before you today, Lord, we ask that you lead, guide, and direct the Board of County Commissioners as we go about conducting the business of the great people of Gulf County. Lord, we ask that you bless our nation, bless all our military, bless our law enforcement, put their lives on the line daily for us. Lord, we also ask that you touch the hearts of the families. Gulf County has lost a lot of good people here in the last month, and we ask that you be with them and touch their heart as they go through their process of healing and getting on with their lives. Lord, we ask this all in your Son's precious name, Jesus Christ. Amen. Join me in the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Take a moment to thank each of you for taking time out to come to be the regular meeting January the 28th of the Gulf County Board of County Commissioners. It's good to see all of you, and I'd like to recognize a couple of people back over to my right. We have the Honorable Judge Joe and his wife, Miss Judy Novak, from the great state of New Jersey. This is Jeremy's parents, and we've seen the judge before, but Miss Judy, it's an honor and a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for coming down and being with us. All right, before we get into the regular order of business, we'll start with the consent agenda. Does anyone in the audience have any questions concerning the consent agenda? If you do, please step forward and state your concern. Having no one,
So moved to approve, Mr. Chairman.
we have a motion by Commissioner McLemore to approve the consent agenda. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Commissioner Yeager. Is any further discussion? Any opposition? Motion passed 5-0. All right, our next order of business, Ms. Lanier.
Yes, sir, we have a public hearing on the 5-year capital improvement schedule.
Direct our attention right over here.
Mr. Chairman, this is the second public hearing. If you recall, back on January 14th, we conducted our first hearing with regards to the 5-year capital improvement schedule. This will be the second public hearing. I read the actual proposed ordinance in its entirety at the last meeting. With permission of the commission, I'll read it by title, and then if you can open it to the public hearing.
Sure.
The public notice and the title of the ordinance is a public hearing, an ordinance per the requirements of Florida Statute 163 to yearly review and update the Gulf County 5-year capital improvement schedule, incorporating the Gulf County School District 2013-2014 work plan, incorporating by reference the updated concurrency tracking data, and providing for the repeal of an ordinance in conflict therewith, and providing for severability and providing for an effective date. It's been properly advertised in accordance with the statute on January 2nd and January 16th for public hearings on the 14th and the 28th of January. And today will be the second public hearing to discuss this capital improvement schedule. If you can, Mr. Chairman, turn it over to public comment before you all begin.
All right, at this time, do we have any public comment? Do we have any public comment on this? All right, having no comment, Mr. Attorney, proceed.
Mr. Chairman, on pages 100 and 101, you'll see that the actual ordinance in its final proposed form, and I've spoke with the planner, Mr. Richardson, since our last meeting. That is the proposed final form, and unless the commission has any further questions or comments, you can entertain a motion to adopt that ordinance.
Wishes of the board.
So moved to adopt, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Yeager to adopt. Second by Commissioner Smiley. Discussion on this? Any opposition to it? If not, motion passed 5-0.
Mr. Chairman, now it's county staff business. I don't know
Sure.
if Madam Clerk has anything or not.
All right. Good morning, Ms. Norris.
Good morning. I don't have anything of business, but maybe just information. I missed last board meeting, and I understand there was a concern about minutes. So I just wanted to thank you for your comments because they were right on target. We are behind. We are working on it. we've had a lot of people out, and additional meetings that start in the summer due to budget and value adjustment board, they just stack up. So, but we are working on it,
Good deal.
and hopefully to have them caught up soon.
Well, we all hope your husband's doing a lot better with his.
Thank you, he is doing
And,
good.
uh,
He's minding well, it's good.
Great, man. Public, I had cataract surgery the other day, and so if I look a little or messing with my eye, or I have to put on these shades. I'm not trying to hide, it's my eye giving a problem. But anyway, thank you, Madam Clerk.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I just have a few items. First is we received bids, bid number 1314-10 for uniforms. It was a rebid from the first time. I know this has been an issue with having to put the invoices for uniforms in the consent agenda over and over because of a lack of contract. Ms. Manuel and I went over, discussed with staff over at Public Works, who actually pay 50% of the cleaning for uniforms. There are a lot of issues, and there's a lot of up and downs as to what staff would like to see done. What I would like to ask the board and Mr. Attorney, the bid notice required a 2-year contract. That's what we put in the bid. I'm asking if it's possible that we recommend UniFirst, which is our current company, for a period to end September 30th, 2015, in lieu of a 2-year contract, and staff would like to get together and try to come up with additional ways to manage county uniforms for the staff. We think we can come up with some new ideas on how to save the employees' money, the county money, and still be able to get the uniforms that look professional and be what we need, so.
I understand what you said. It's a 50-50 deal. The county pays, the taxpayer pays 50, and the employee
The employee pays
50. And you want
50%.
to try to
And-
modifications to this?
The actual bid said 2 years. We'd like to just go till September 30th of 2015 instead of a full 2 years. And that will take us into have something for the next budget cycle after next year, so that we can do some different things and still maintain the integrity and the look that the public expects from our employees.
I move, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner McLemore,
Second.
second by Commissioner Yeager. Is there any opposition? Opposition? Not. Motion
you, sir.
passed. 5-0.
And along with that, I do have 3 additional invoices that I received after the consent agenda. They're the normal employee
Are
invoices.
they in line with the
There's-
ones that are in here?
Yes, sir. It's strictly cleaning invoices. If we can, instead of waiting another 3 weeks for them to get paid for these, if I could get the approval for 3 invoices for UniFirst.
I move, Mr. Chairman.
Motion and a second. Any opposition? Motion passed to implement the 3, 5-0.
Thank you,
All right.
sir.
Thank you.
I have one more item. Mr. Chairman, this letter was received yesterday at 6:19 PM. So I apologize for not getting it in the agenda, but I had a request from 2 individuals that have purchased a field rack, and they would like to donate that to the county. So they're asking for the county to accept this piece of equipment that they bought, but they do have a request is that it be used exclusively for the Honeyville softball complex and remain at that location permanently. They've sent in all the specifications, serial number and everything. They bought this for that purpose, and they would like to donate it with the county with the contention that it stays at that facility. So for the board's consideration.
I can comment on a little bit of that.
Please.
It's a machine, about a $12,000, $15,000 machine that they actually purchased over at the naval base or whatever, $300, $400, $500 or whatever. But, we don't have one, or they don't have one, you know, at the ball fields, and that's what it'd be used for.
Educate me on the super rack. What's the super?
It's, they go in there, like the ball diamond, the clay part, they'll take this machine and they'll rake it. It rakes the fields, what it is. It's a very expensive machine. And they were lucky enough to get one on bid over there, reasonable and cheap. So, what we want to do with it. So make the motion that we accept it.
Okay. Motion on the floor to
I'll second.
accept. Second by Commissioner Bryan. Any opposition? No opposition, motion passed 5-0 to accept.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Jenkins, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I just wanted to update you on something very exciting that just has come about this past Friday. Earlier this summer, there was a local committee that was formed to focus on bringing boutique cruise ship or educational ships into Port St. Joe. I was charged with looking at the boutique cruise line aspect of it, and I've been targeting 3 companies with the possibility of them coming into port here. A few years ago, a company called Travel Dynamics International was speaking with Mr. Pitts about this opportunity, and there were 2 reasons why it didn't come to fruition. The first was that they did a blind site visit, and they weren't happy with aesthetically how Jetty Park looked in that low dock. And the second was they were talking about when they come to port here in Port St. Joe, we would be a cultural mecca. So if they'd spend the day going to big museums and art galleries and all that. So we didn't have that. I've been sort of working on another approach that Port St. Joe would be a place for eco-excursions. To make a long story short, I met with them, and they are putting Port St. Joe on a new itinerary that will start in April of 2015. That voyage begins in New Orleans. It goes to Mobile, Pensacola, Port St. Joe, and Tampa. Now, the good news is that voyage doesn't start until April 1st, 2015. Right now, it's a test program. They will be here in port. If it sells out April 7th, 2015, they'll arrive at 7 or 8 in the morning, and then they will set sail for Tampa 8 or 9 that night. I have told them we are committed to this as a community. I am working with them on 3 different excursions so that passengers will have 3 options. One of them will be to Weewa, to go kayak, exploring on the Dead Lakes, possibly fishing and maybe an apiary. They were very excited about that. Another excursion would be on the bay. And then the third excursion would be a day trip to Appalachia via boat up the Intercoastal through Lake Wemiko to go to lunch. That would get everybody back to Port St. Joe around 4 o'clock, which gives them time to shop and dine before they get back on the ship and set sail. So I'm just letting you know there was a local group. I will call Loretta Costin and see if we can get that group back together, and certainly any help that we need, because there's a lot of work to do. We need to get this all packaged and ready to go so they can begin marketing in April of 2014. We need to put pricing together. I need to work with county attorney and research docking fees, possible tourist development taxes, so all of that can begin in their marketing materials. The good news is that they start their marketing with their corporate clients, which include Smithsonian, the New York Philharmonic, Stanford University, and they try to sell out these cruises via these companies first, and if it sells out, they'll add an additional route during scallop season. So I just want to let you know that, and I'm going to work with this group, the Port Authority and the city, unless there's any reason why you feel like we shouldn't continue to go down this path.
Mr. Chairman, I want to make a comment here. Jennifer has always taken the bull by the horns, and she made contact with these folks many times. She just got back from New York. That's where she met with these folks. She got the commitment. We appreciate what you do, Jennifer. You work hard, and we appreciate your commitment to Gulf County.
Thank you. Is there any reason why we shouldn't? I know that it's one day. It's one day, but the marketing opportunities and the opportunity to continually add more trips like this is exciting.
Excuse me, but we pick up, say, a year of advertisement or?
They start their marketing they want to sell out the this journey as quickly as possible. So they'll start their marketing materials a year out. So April 2014, I need to put together the itineraries, get photographs, get pricing, all of that together, so they'll put that on their website and into their brochures as they start to market. If it sells out, they'll add another trip.
Great, great. Jennifer, thank you for the work that you do, and our attorney right over here, if you need to work with him, our county administrator. And
Right, I don't know anything about the legalities of docking fees,
Okay.
tourist development tax, anything like that, but I'll work together with Jeremy to do so.
We know about the resources, and we can help you there that we have.
Okay, well, my team will be there to greet them when they come off the ship, and we'll handle all the logistics. We can do the marketing. It's just all the other things that we need to, as a community, put together so that we can assure them that, the dock will look good, we'll be here and ready. It also falls next year through spring break. The good news is that there'll be, visitors here, and that we don't need the lodging that night because they'll be on the ship. But the shops and restaurants, if they're open, that adds some different
Right.
business. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Whitfield?
This time.
Larry?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, I got a few things. Regarding SHIP, I've got a purchase assistance applicant we approved back in November. It was on the 12th, for up to $30,000 for purchase assistance of a house in Gulf County to Miss Shirley Walker. She has asked me to come before the board and to give her a 90-day extension. I've ran into this issue before, low income, and trying to find resources for a first mortgage. So she's had a little bit of trouble with her first mortgage, trying to get that. So I asked the board to give her that 90-day extension.
Wishes of the board.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Got a motion over here,
I second that motion.
second by Chairman Smiley. Any opposition? Not? 5-0.
Okay, thank you. Next item for the project we have in Weewall, John and Nervine Colvin. We started that project probably 3 weeks ago, ran into some major issues. We started tearing off the roof of that house. The actual roof collapsed due to water damage. And when we broke into the foundation, found lots of termite damage. I know you've been through that home, Mr. Chairman. Just major issues, and sometimes you never know what you're going to run into when you get into these houses. So I've got a change order here from Crest Enterprises for $8,950 even for repairs.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion by McLemore, second by Smiley. Opposition? Not, motion passed 5-0.
The last thing I wanted to mention, we are having our first insurance committee meeting for the new year, Thursday at 12 o'clock.
12 noon.
That's correct.
I'll be
So,
there.
Anyone else wishing to attend, you're more than welcome. So that's all I have.
Thank you, thank you. Stanford? All right. Daniel? Richardson?
No, sir.
No thing. Pinsky?
No, sir.
All right, Mr. Hammond? Mr. Attorney?
Mr. Chairman, the first issue I have is if you all recall, in Commissioner Yeager's district, there was a variance granted to the Nassers about 6 months ago. Since that time, there's been some questions and some concerns of the property owners with regards to the variance that was granted to the Nassers. There was a resolution between the parties and the neighboring property owners. The Nassers actually, through their engineer, submitted revised plans that was not going to need the variance and the encroachment on the setback. Since that time, the planners issued a notice of consistency, which they sought from the beginning. The neighboring property owners and the attorneys that we've been working with have requested just some clarification. With the notice of consistency being issued by the county, going forward, that variance was granted originally. They've modified the plans, and we've now since sent the notice. With regards to that variance, should there be a question in the future, we'd like instructions and authority from the commission that we go back through the planning board process, we go back through this county commission if those plans were to change in the future. This has been a successful resolution between neighboring property owners, and we wanted to thank everyone that was working on it, but at the same time, we wanted to bring it to the commission's attention. If it does come back up again, just clarification from you all that we'll bring the variance and that encroachment or that setback request back to you all if it was ever brought up again on that property.
Jeremy, do you need a motion to that? I think, I do appreciate everybody working on that because it was a tough situation trying to work through with the owners adjoining the property and the owner himself and his engineer. And so we appreciate everybody working through this process, and I'm glad we got resolution. We need to make sure it doesn't happen again, so obviously we want everything to go back through the planning board again when there's an issue like that. But do you need a motion to that?
If we can on this property, just with regards to that setback, they've submitted the plans, but at this time, they, whether they relinquish that right to the variance or not, we'd ask that if they do come back and modify the plans that we've issued the notice of consistency on through the planner, that they would go back through the process of the planning board and this commission.
So move with that property, Mr. Chair.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Yeager. Do I hear a second? Second by Commissioner Bryan. Any other discussion? Not. Motion passed 5-0.
Mr. Chairman, just to update you, I had requested, you all had made a motion to request a workshop with Sacred Heart with regards to the EMS transport. I've communicated with Mr. Hall. Meg Norwood, who is back from leave, has hit the ground running and indicated that she wants to schedule that workshop along with Mr. Roger Hall. I don't have a date yet for it, but as soon as I hear, I'll give it to the administrator and the chairman and try to schedule that workshop. The EMS consultants contract that we are currently under, the county and Mr. Houston and Brett and the administrator and myself, if you all recall, we've been working with EMS consultants for the last few years. Last year, we had approached you all about extending the contract through the end of 2013, which we did. Right now, with the county undergoing the audit, its annual audit and its review, what we're requesting is an extension of 4 months on the EMS consultants contract so we can continue the services of EMS consultants and then evaluate the audit's recommendations and the financial review, and at that time come back to you all with recommendations to put it back out, extend EMS consultants, or there are additional internal mechanisms we can put in place to better bill through the EMS. But it's the recommendation of the staff that they allow a 4-month extension on the contract so we can receive that audit back.
Okay, gentlemen.
Move on that.
Second.
Motion.
Second with discussion. Gentlemen, we did this 2 or 3 years ago with EMS consultants. We went from losing, and Houston's done a great job with that program, but we went from losing $800,000 that had to be supplemented through our property tax to we're getting close to breaking even with that service, and Houston's done a great job. We appreciate the work that he's done on that, and it's saved the taxpayers a ton of money. So we appreciate staff working on it.
You need a motion for the 4-month extension. Do I have
Please.
them? Yeah, we got it. Second. Any opposition to it? If not, motion passed 5-0.
Mr. Chairman, the last thing was to update you all. I had indicated that we had summary judgment hearings on the Port Authority and Capital City Bank foreclosure hearings last Thursday before Judge Fischel. He had heard the oral arguments of the various parties and indicated that he would obviously review the newest legal memorandums and then render his judgments on those motions that we can hopefully anticipate. And as they come in, I will update the commission and the staff accordingly as we move forward. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. Butler?
Mr. Chairman, first item is, we talked about last board meeting, going out for proposals, RFPs for garbage. Again, our contract ends last day of May. We've got 4 months to notify Waste Management we want to go out. I'm fairly certain the board voted to do that last board meeting. If we could reaffirm another vote on allowing us to go out RFPs for garbage services, we've got to give them 4 months notice. 31st of this month, this Friday is the last day we let them know. But if we get an official vote of the board to go out for RFPs for garbage.
Yeah, if you need official vote, that's fine. I put it in the form of a motion. I'll wait for a second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Yeager, Second for discussion by Commissioner Smiley.
Don, and all that, we're still planning on mandatory garbage pickup with yard debris and all those kinds of things, aren't we? Is that?
That's true. That's going to be a future vote of the board, but mandatory, whatever mandatory is, we look at mandatory and also in conversation with the cities, looking at bidding this out at the same time with the cities to try to get a better price. But the issue at hand right now, immediately in front of us, is we've got to make an official notification to Waste Management that we're getting a 4 months notice. We're going to bid this job out.
Mr. Butler, will you see that that's taken care of?
We do it.
All right. We got a motion and a second for discussion here. Do we want to, any opposition to it? All right, 5-0. Now then, that's right. Take care of that today if all possible, please.
It'll be done. SEBR, for the board's information, we have 2 SEBR community budget issue requests applications going in. One is, we talked about it last time on sewer, it's $4.3 million project, Beacon Hill. And the second one is for a 13-mile roadway. Gulf County's portion of that roadway is approximately $1.5 million. Those 2 go in, and they'll have to be in by the 31st. So they'll go in today also.
All right, we just, with a motion, got a motion by Commissioner McLemore. Do I hear a second to it? Second by Commissioner Smiley. Any opposition? Not 5-0, so there you go.
Good piece of information got in yesterday, right, going home time. We received notice from DEO that the enterprise zone boundary lines that we made application to amend has been approved.
Great,
So
great.
effective first day of January. So retroactive to the first day of January. And now,
January 14.
14.
Yeah, okay.
So this will be in place at least through the last day of December of 15. That's when this program sunsets.
Okay.
There is a bill going through the legislature this time to extend another 10 years. So that would have happened. We have another 10 years. Next year we'll be ending our second 10 years of this program, enterprise zone program. But the good news is we have 23 square miles now, instead of 20 square miles. Been approved. So we've already made one phone call this morning. Someone that was not in the enterprise zone in December, he is now in the enterprise zone, so they can take advantage of that. Tammy's calling them this morning.
Great.
Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Butler. Sheriff?
No, sir. Don't have
Nothing. All right, Mr. McLemore?
Yes, sir, I do have one thing,
Roger?
Mr. Chairman. On that EDA committee, I think they're short one committee there, and I have a person I'd like to appoint for that, which would be Christy McElroy, and I'd make that into a form of a motion on the EDA board.
The EDA
You get
vote.
3 appointees, right? And that's the EDA subcommittee.
Advisory, yeah.
Okay, and we've got 2?
We have 2.
All right, we have a vacant. All right, we got a motion by Commissioner McLemore, second by Commissioner Yeager. Opposition, any
I have
discussion?
some discussion. I think that when we're filling our appointees, that we should strive to fill the appointees with folks who are, this is their main residence here in Gulf County, and I know Ms. McElroy is a resident of Leon County. That's where her homestead is, and I appreciate the fact that she would like to be involved, but I'd like for us to look for folks who have a vested interest here as permanent citizens and as business owners. So I think that a Leon County resident on our EDA may not be the most effective use of our 3 seats.
That isn't correct. This is my primary residence.
Well, I think at the end of the day, we have had about a year to put this third person on. Nobody's really come forward wanting this. Ms. McElroy is always involved with the community, respectfully involved, and so I support her appointment.
All right, we'll call for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion?
Vote no.
All opposed? Motion passed. Chair votes yes. Motion passed 4-1.
And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman, at this
Thank you.
time.
Commissioner Bryant?
I have nothing.
All right. Mr. Smiley? Jaeger.
Just real quick, we had a oil consortium meeting last Friday. Don and I went up. It's about a 4-hour meeting, but they're making progress. We're hoping to get in all the discussions with the federal government. Looks like we're going to get the Treasury regs in, hopefully in March. And so we can start expending some of those dollars, which are already in that fund. For Gulf County, there's probably 2.4 million in there. So it'll give us an opportunity to hopefully reimburse the county for any expenditures that we've already had with the committee and those type things. And also going forward, we'll, implement some projects. And so looking forward to that. At the end of the day, we do have to do a plan, and that plan has to be approved by the registry, reserve. And so we'll have to do that. I look to that committee to make recommendations to the board on that plan and what projects to implement. So it's moving forward, finally. And so along with the NERDA projects, the projects that the city of Port St. Joe received and the projects that Gulf County has received, we're finally getting a few projects from the BP settlement. We also had a meeting, Ms. Hardman, myself, and several concerned citizens with FDOT about the intersection there at 98. A lot of discussion at the end of the day. It will be, we'll have an answer from that level, hopefully by Tuesday, I think that he said. So we'll see how that goes. If we don't get some, and the sheriff was there, if we don't get some satisfaction from that level, then we'll move right on up the ladder and continue, because it's a concern with everybody that I know of on the Cape. Emails, phone calls, and those type things. So we're pressing forward with that and meeting with DOT and so just let you know. And that's all I had, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And the chair has nothing this morning. Here.
Trying to go paperless here. Bear with me for just a
Okay,
second.
will do.
First on our agenda is Gregory and Catherine Klein in reference to water drainage on property from construction.
Klein's here. If you are, would you please come forward? Klein's. All right. Note that they are not here today. Okay.
Next on the agenda is Alex Moten, M3 Services, new Gulf County business.
Is Mr. Moten, would, sir, please come. Podium.
Thank you.
Ms. Sumner. Give the gentleman 5. He represents the corporation.
Hopefully I'll be done in 3.
Thank you.
My name is Alec Mouton. Commissioners, Mr. Administrator, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. I actually sent a presentation to Ms. Summers, and I don't know if you managed to get it, but I'll certainly share this copy with you guys as I leave. I own M3 Services, and it's a small service-disabled veteran-owned business. I'm retired Air Force, with our intent to bring upwards of around 100 jobs to Gulf County within the next 3 years. The main goal and our main target audience is government defense industries, and particularly in the aerospace industry. There's quite a few jobs and quite a few businesses that leave this area, go to other states to provide work for Tyndall Air Force Base. And our goal is to bring that work back here. You're in the backyard of in Gulf County, you're in the backyard of Tyndall. And we believe that the products and the services that we plan and intend to deliver to Tyndall and the military will be a great savings to the government and eventually a great job opportunity for this area. In an instance, our basic average salary, the low-end salary would be around $40,000 per employee to include benefits. We plan on starting with 10 to 15 jobs as soon as we're able to break ground and get started here in Gulf County, with 30 to 40% of those jobs coming directly from Gulf County citizens. After that, we would like to add in the second phase of our operations nearly 40 jobs moving into logistics, administrative, mechanical, and into the engineering type of sciences to get us to where we're trying to go. Beyond that, there's another 60 to 80 job positions that will be filled in those same type of fields, and eventually involving the school systems, both with the community and the state college here in the local area, and the high schools, to hopefully involve some of your younger students in engineering programs to provide them with maybe an opportunity going forward in the future. I've been working with the local EDA for a better part of a year to try and understand what Gulf County's interests are in business development and growth without changing the way the way of life here in the area. The environment is a very significant thing to us, to my family, to make sure that we don't encroach on anything there. And our main purpose in that fact is we're looking at clean technologies and clean energy to build it. Our facility would be based on approval by the commission and by the city that we're building something that is appealing to the area, but also we're looking beyond to go to green energy, photovoltaic windows and solar panels to try and power our facility, which is something that is not done in this type of industry that we're after. We've also talked with folks like Mr. Costin about port involvement, and hopefully the intent with our product and with our services will bring naval units, friendly foreign military units, and eventually maybe civilian type customers to our port to save us and them quite a bit on logistics of providing our products and services directly to their vessels. I'm going through this pretty quick because I promised you 3 minutes. Our corporate goals in the future is to involve every military installation down the I-10 corridor from Pensacola to Jacksonville, Florida. We have quite a few installations where their business leaves to go to other states. That means the paychecks and the jobs and everything else are in Seattle, somewhere in Norfolk, Virginia, or along the eastern and western seaboards. When that work could be done by community-involved folks or military members that are retiring and leaving them with a job here versus having to go somewhere else outside of the state or outside of the local area to provide those same services back to the people that they work for their military career. Mr. Commissioners, ma'am, that's pretty much it in a nutshell, and I think I made my 3 minutes.
Thank you. Hey, this would be great for not only this community, but for this county and possibly some of the surrounding counties here. So stay on top of this, and let's see if we can do everything we can. It's good, clean energy. Like you said, it's clean environment, and it'll be a good job. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it, Mr. McDonald.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming down.
Mr. Chairman, next on our list is Mr. John Comer, D.D., in reference to Church of Our Founding Fathers and Civic Civility.
Mr. Comer, there you are, sir. Please come up to the podium. Good morning to you. Hey, if you would, sir, state your name over here for...
Okay, John Comer, 9247 West 98th, Highway 98. I've been here before. There have been a couple of changes. I was recently awarded a Doctor of Divinity degree, and I'm now the rector of the Church of Our Founding Fathers. In that regards, why I'm here, actually. I got an email from Don Gates the other day in which he included a quote from Martin Luther King, which says, "We approach the end of our days when we remain silent about things that count." And so that's why I'm here. You folks made the CNN news a few weeks back as one of the top 4 prospects of municipalities for filing bankruptcy in 2014. I was surprised. One, I didn't think you owed that much money that they'd make CNN news. But it is a problem, and you have talked about it every once in a while. But the things that prevent your solving that problem, Tam Smiley's managed to identify very carefully. One, as long as there's the acrimony and rancor that tends to govern the meetings that you have here, nobody's going to work together, and that ain't going to help anything. Item number 2, when your communities don't work together, that doesn't help anything. So what we need to do is to solve the problem, is to identify the causes of the problem. Talking about doing better isn't going to help us any. Why do we have rancor at meetings? What's going on? Why do we have a conflict between blow-ins and residents, which, by the way, is probably going to get worse? And the reason is that for the blow-ins and the residents, there's a huge cultural conflict. I mean, huge. It may not even be solvable, which is why this blow-in is going to blow out in the spring. So you have, one solution might be put a sign on 98 that welcome to Gulf County. We tell you what you want to hear. We tell you what you want to hear is a social moray of Gulf County. The unfortunate part of it is that for those of us who come from the West, we practice our word as our bond. And there's a very direct conflict between we tell you what you want to hear and my word is my bond. The second thing is, which was emphasized by the rules for this meeting, we have very different views of government. The rules for this meeting from someone from the West, or the North, or the Northeast, or the founding colonies, both violates federal law and the U.S. Constitution, blatantly. But you folks don't see that, because that's not the way your game's played. You see, you have a conflict here between the United States Constitution and the King James Bible AV. Now, I'm sure you all may not know what AV after the King James Bible means, but it means authorized version. And do you know who authorizes the version? The English Parliament. You see, King James Bible is the book of the state religion, the Church of England, for a foreign country. Specifically the foreign country that one of my ancestors fought in the American Revolution to kick out. So you have to resolve those two things. Something you have to do is look at the issues. What are the cultural differences, and see if you can balance them out. Because until you do, you're not going anywhere. Now, we've got to get a group that works together here in a community. And as long as you're telling each other what you want, each other wants to hear, and your conflict between the U.S. Constitution and the King James Bible, you're going to go bankrupt. It's really that simple. Now, to help things out, I thought I might introduce you to how people from the West, North, and so forth, who represent my point of view, look at things, so you have some idea of what are these blow-ins thinking about when they come to us. So what I've done for you, just Jill will distribute, is a copy of the 13 intrinsic characteristics of being an American. I'm probably the only person in Florida who is eligible for the Sons of the American Revolution, which has a ancestor listed in as a combatant in the American War. Yes.
Hold up, please.
We're done?
You've used your 5 minutes.
So moved.
I second.
All right, we have a motion. No, just say, well, yeah, we just have to follow procedure here. Second over here. Any opposition to it?
Your time was up, but they extended you if you like to speak.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm done.
Okay.
Unless you want to start an argument, but
No.
just as soon. Let's see if we can't calm things down. Thank you very much.
One quick, here, Mr. Comer. I haven't seen anywhere where Gulf County's going bankrupt, and everything you see on the news, reading the papers, don't take it for. Sometimes it can be bad wrong.
I didn't.
That. All right, but I just
it was a surprise to me too.
Our county, we're not in the best shape, but we're at least on the good side.
CNN, I'm not responsible for what they publish.
Thank you again, sir. Looking forward to seeing you.
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I would just like to follow up on that. Standards and Poor, Fitch Ratings, they do these every year, and we checked in today, said it's kind of the same thing last year. They take into consideration a lot of other factors other than just your dollars or your financial condition as far as the bank. So unemployment, industry that you have in your community, population, average wages for your population. So a lot of things go into consideration when they make that statement. It doesn't mean that the county's about to go bankrupt. Sure. So no alarms there should go off.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ms. Lanier?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the Studstill Law Firm, PLLC, in reference to Cinnamon Hill Property Owners Association.
Is anyone here representing? Here we go. Sir, come up to the podium, please. Who's he with?
Good morning, Commission. Clayton Studstill.
Good morning, sir.
Here on behalf of the Cinnamon Hill Property Owners Association, presented to the board for your review a request for right-of-way abandonment. This is not a new project, and it should be familiar to the members of the board who have been around for the last 3 years or so, as we've wrestled with the issue of how to open the right-of-ways to provide access to these lots on the backside of Beacon Hill, St. Joe Beach. They were originally platted in 1927. The right-of-ways have been improved basically up to this community, this set of 36 lots, but have never quite been opened all the way so as to allow reasonable vehicular access, et cetera. The residents have formed an association, and they have given me the power of attorney to present this and to create founding documents, as well as to pursue applications such as this right-of-way abandonment, as well as DEP, Water Management District, and Army Corps of Engineers permitting for any dredge and fill or stormwater as may be necessary. We have obtained support from at least one adjacent neighbor, and we have no real opposition at this point in time from another adjacent landowner who has other access to his property. That would be the Arnold Trust. They own a large tract of land that essentially surrounds this piece of land. If you could think of a subdivision platted in 1927 as a chunk of ground. It's raw land, it's rough, it's kind of a wasteland, it's been logged, it is a low-quality wetland for a vast portion of it, but the residents, the owners, I should say, are committed to developing this property in such a manner that they will have homes there.
Can I comment on this?
Yes. Chair recognizes. McLemore.
I have been out there and seen this property. Mr. Butler, didn't we come to a conclusion on this? I mean, isn't what you're requesting in the agenda packet?
Yes.
It wasn't in the consent.
I mean, in consent, it wasn't?
No, it was not, sir.
Okay. Refresh my memory on this, Mr. Butler. I know we went there and looked at it, and there was some confusion there, and, you know, about the right-of-way abandonment and all that.
Commissioner McLemore and I went out, looked at it. We did meet with one of the partners, one of the owners, and at the time, the discussion was around if 100% of the property owners around that proposed abandonment were to agree to it,
Right.
then that would probably be what it take in order for this board to consider abandoning that roadway. And I think the holdout at the time was the Arnold family. Sound like Clayton is still saying the Arnold family has not signed on the dotted line saying it's okay. And my personal opinion, what Clayton asked for, I don't see a problem with it if you got 100% buy-in with all property owners adjoining that property.
But we don't have that.
It would be a simple solution as to stop the abandonment short of the Arnold property. The Arnolds have other access, and there is no impediment. It's actually better for them because we're going to build roads. And if we didn't build the roads, then I say let it revert back to the county. But there's no reason for an objection. The Arnold property is at the end of all the right-of-ways. So in a traditional abandonment, you split to either side. Mr. Peterson is one of those neighbors on the other side who would normally get half of an abandonment. He has disclaimed any interest in it so that there could be a road built. And he doesn't want to be responsible for the road, but he'd love to use it so he can pull his boat in around the corner. If we stop short of the Arnold property, then legally we have stopped short, and there's no reason to need their sign off because they are no longer an adjacent property owner that's directly touching any abandonment. We would be glad to do that. I can revise the legal descriptions that you've been provided as part of this application to stop a foot short or 5 feet short. You'll notice that on Triton Street, the proposed abandonment does stop short of them because it stops at where the intersection with unopened right-of-way Phillips Drive is, so that if the county ever wanted to build Phillips Drive, it would touch the abandonment of Triton and the proposed road that the Cinnamon Hill property owners would like to build.
I think what I asked for, what we asked for when we met the gentleman out there is exactly what Mr. Butler just said, for everybody to be in agreement trying to solve this problem. Y'all haven't done that.
Mr. Novak,
Yeah.
I think Mr. Studstill is asking us to.
Hold just a minute.
Sorry, I thought you were
Mr. McEnroe
finished.
has the floor.
That's okay. Go ahead.
No, you
All
go
right,
ahead.
Sue, we recognize the chair.
thought you
You
were-
recognize Commissioner Bryan.
Mr. Novak, I believe Mr. Studstill is asking us to begin the process. In that process, if we did begin the process, isn't there an opportunity to address those issues with surrounding property owners that provides for that?
Yeah, Commissioner, under statute 336, as Mr. Studstill and I have discussed in the past, if the commission, and I think Mr. Studstill today is starting the process, he's come before you all in the past, if you all are comfortable with the representations and what he's presented to you, is you would authorize the public notice, which is 2 weeks under statute 336. We would have a public hearing. It would be advertised in the paper. I would encourage, obviously, Clayton to work with the county and notice those adjacent property owners so that he could come back with certified mailers to let them know. At that time, you would have a public hearing so you could hear from any other adjacent property owners, Clayton, his clients, any other property owners could come and offer their comments. So you have a full record, and then you can take into consideration whether you wanted to abandon those 3 roadways and those alleyways that he has on the package. So this would start the process. Before he makes that investment, I think on behalf of his client, he wants to know, what the concerns of the commission before he starts with the process.
Chairman, I think the bottom line is the county doesn't want to build a road. Clayton, is this the only way for these property owners to access their property?
Yes.
Well, I don't want the general taxpayers to pay for building this road, so if they're willing to pay for building the road, even upgrading it to county standards, if the county wants to take it, that's fine. The only concern that I might have is we've just applied to get some monies for sewer in Beacon Hill. Do we need to maintain some easement down that road to provide those services if we go that route?
We would certainly work, if that's the wish of the commission and we went down that path, we'd put that language in these conveyances and the abandonment of the property. Another thing is Clayton's provided proposed conditions and restrictions on the property. Going forward, there's been discussion over, I think, the last 2 years of if everyone's in agreement, all the property owners want to see the abandonment of these roads. 4 or 5 years down the road, we've all been through the experiences, and we've talked with Clayton and expressed to his client, as times go on and an association doesn't have the solvency to take care of them, does it revert back? And that has been a concern that Clayton has discussed and is addressing in his covenants and conditions. So who would be ultimately responsible 5, 10 years from now for roads built in a wetland? The concern, I think the administrator and I, and we've all discussed, is we don't want it to revert back to the taxpayers if ultimately it's abandoned in its entirety, and then you all are sitting here a couple years from now and someone comes to the podium and says, my road's in disrepair, and the association's defunct. So that's something that we're trying to address in those association CCRs, and I think Clayton has put that language in there, and ultimately that would be part of the record that you take into consideration at that public hearing.
Mr. Chair, I'm for moving forward with the process, giving the public an opportunity to discuss it in a public hearing, but I would certainly say that somehow these folks have got to get access to the property, and I don't want to build it on the taxpayers down that road down there.
Is that a motion?
Yeah, I'll put it in the form of a motion if.
I'll second.
Okay, we have left here, we have a motion by Chairman, Commissioner Yeager, second by Commissioner Bryan. Is there any further discussion on this? Yes. Mr. Attorney, is that?
Just there's a process. We have a process in the county for abandonment of roadways. We're going to follow that same procedure and process. The first thing is going to be advertising this 2 weeks in advance, and hopefully notifying these adjacent property owners. Clayton has a power of attorney on behalf of, I think, 21 property owners out there for 37 lots. The people that aren't included in that, we'll ask him to notify them. between now and your first meeting in February, I don't think sufficient notice to get the notice out, so just so we can all verbally express it, we'd probably shoot for that second meeting in February, as long as it works for Clayton and his client's schedule, and we'd have a public hearing at that second meeting in February.
And I also would like to point out that in Mr. Studstill's documents, he indicates that the association has no desire to restrict public access on the roadways. So it's just a matter of these folks being able to access their properties to develop them.
There'll be no gates if somebody wanted to drive down the road. It's
Well, you know, we have law enforcement, fire, ambulances.
Well, let me tell you.
Who was?
Let me tell you where we go with
Okay,
that.
Chair recognized.
That's what St. Joe Company said about 5-10 years ago, in that Windmark Beach out there. We have no gates. We don't want any gates. Can't even get out there on the beach now. That's why we need to be very careful with it.
they just make it part of the approval, but we're not there. We need to go through a public noticing period. Thank you.
Okay. Motion on the floor. Yeager, second by Commissioner Bryan. Any further discussion? Any opposition? Not. Motion passed. 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Have a
Have a
nice
great
day.
day. All right, now, Ms. Lanier.
Public discussion.
All right, we're open to the public. If anyone in the audience has any business before the board, they would come up and state their business. Anyone? Dr. Hardman, would you please come up to the podium?
Well, Dr. Harmon's coming. It's good to see a city commissioner in our audience. Bo, it's good to have you here.
Pat Hardman,
Dr.
123
Hardman.
Mariner, Port St. Joe. Just very quick, I want to brag on you a little bit. We've just finished up one of your CDBG homes in over here in just out towards it, Oak Grove, and I was extremely proud of our company being able to build that home for you, and the folks that we worked with there were just some of the nicest people that we've ever built a house for, and to see that go from what would be very difficult for most of us in this room to live in, and that being destroyed, and a new home put in place that has all of the economy and they'll save huge amounts of money being able to live there. And I think you county commissioners did a really good job by going after that grant. And I want to tell you, you need to say thank you very much to Juan over here. She made that stuff happen, and we appreciate all she did to remove some of the barriers that we ran into as contractors. So thank you all for doing that. Great job. Second thing is we have a Coastal Community Association meeting coming up this Saturday at 10 a.m. We would appreciate any of you commissioners coming out. You get to hear from local residents and blow-ins who we appreciate, both of them. And we have a great group out there that brings to all the issues that are out on our South Gulf County area and the county as well. We will have some of our elected politicians, state and federal level there, who will also be you can get to meet with them too. But we would appreciate you coming. It's open to the public. It's at the St. Joe Golf Club, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Okay. Appreciate you coming. And then finally, we have met with DOT again, as Warren said. We appreciate Warren's help on that. The sheriff came out. The fire department came out. They had done a trial run. They were very concerned about the delay time and the fact that they almost created wrecks at the, quote, safe intersection that DOT keeps insisting that they have. There was nobody in the room. We had a lot of different folks in the room. There was no one in the room from South Gulf County, the sheriff, or the fire department that felt that this is a safe intersection at present time. So we're going to ask Warren we're giving them until February 4th to come back with their decision, and we're going to say, let's quit walking up this ladder. Let's just go ahead and go up the top, and we're going to ask Senator Montford and Representative Beshears to help us out Saturday as well. So hopefully they'll come back. We had a safe situation. We do not have a safe situation now. And to wait until they put a turn lane on 98 to find out if we're safe 2 years from now in 2016, not going to help. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Hardman. Good to see you. Anyone else? Sir. Mr. Rish. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Presented a letter at the last board meeting. I think y'all asked the attorney to write a memorandum of understanding. Commissioner Bryan had a issue, I think, with just the last paragraph, and I've got a memorandum of understanding from Mr. Novak taking the last paragraph out. We're okay with that. Just wanted to see if you want us to get started.
Mr. Rich, I did not raise this issue because I believe that it's an issue that has had a lot of public input and concern, and I would like to see the information go out to the public and allow for public input prior to us voting. And we just received the memorandum of understanding on Sunday evening, and it's been clearly this ditch has been an issue for a long time, so I didn't see a reason to push it. But if you would like to discuss it now, I am happy to discuss it, or we can discuss it between meetings, whatever you choose.
Up to you.
Well, I do have an issue with the fact that you are willing to address 5 of the issues that are out there. I believe there's approximately 25 currently. There's over 130 that have already been repaired by the county to the cost of the taxpayer. And my feeling is that if you want to start with 5, look into those 5 and fix them, and then come back and discuss what you think that we should do going forward, that this would just be a start. I can go along with that, but I cannot go along with just fixing 5 and then fixing the rest is back on the cost of the taxpayer. I don't believe that the taxpayer should have to foot the bill to repair this ditch and the issues that are going on. Rebel Rish was there to inspect on behalf of the county, and I appreciate that you have stepped up to aid, but I don't believe that we're at the proper agreement at this time.
I mean, we've,
Commissioner,
sorry.
may I address Mr. Rish on this? People, Mr. Rish he's under no obligation to do anything. He held up his end. He's come back as a local citizen, as an employer in this county, and offered to assist this county. I highly respect that and his offer. And really, he doesn't have to do anything, but he is offering here. Mr. Rish has been in this county for his family dates back, just like mine, for 100 years, a century. And I've never known that family didn't stand up to their word, and this is something he's offering. But go ahead, Commissioner. Mr. Rish, I just wanted to implement that.
Well, Mr. Chairman,
Hold on. Hold on. Recognize
On
Smiley.
on this issue here with the America Dish, we've been beating on this and beating on it and beating on it. Mr. Rich finally stepped up to the plate, which he really didn't have to step up to the plate. And from talking to the constituents that I've been talking to, I'm ready right now to just put a motion on the table. Let Mr. Rich go ahead and start and accept that letter that the
Memorandum of understanding. Is that correct?
letter that Mr. Attorney
Drafted.
sent it to me after the letter that Ms. Joanna asked him to go touch it up.
Okay.
You got it right there. And I'm satisfied with it as is. I'm talking to the constituents on America's Ditch.
Put that in the motion.
Yes.
Motion on the floor to accept the memorandum of understanding.
I second it.
Second by
And-
Commissioner
and
McLemore.
Make a comment. We'll be lucky if Mr. Rich don't pull this letter from us. Hopefully, we can get this vote done today, and he can get out there and do what he needs to do with this project.
Is that all? Any further discussion?
Yes, may I
Commissioner,
speak?
yes.
I would like to say that I disagree with Mr. Chairman, with your position and also with Commissioner Smiley's position that Rebel Rish has no responsibility to step up. I have a contract here that they entered into with the county when this ditch began. And they had the responsibility of engineering services and inspection. They represented this county out at that ditch, and they were responsible to inspect the work that was done. Now, commissioners on this board, this is a District 3 issue only because it's located in District 3, but every taxpayer in this county is footing this bill. That means people living up in Weewahitchka, living all over this county. This is a taxpayer issue. Now, we are dealing with over 155 problems on this ditch, and we have already fixed 130. At your cost, I'm talking to the taxpayers, at your cost. And there are 25 approximately out there now, and for some reason, Preble Rish has chosen to fix 5. I disagree with that number. I appreciate the fact that you're here trying to make good on your work. You came to the board, you said several times, and you and I have discussed this, you said several times that you wanted to make it right. Now, I have heard you say that you were, and it's in your letter, that you were hired to do limited inspection services, but there is nothing in the contract that indicates that the inspection services are limited. And I take issue with that.
Well, we discussed it, I think, with the administrator before we did it years ago.
Well, you,
We charge 2.5%. Everybody knows, you know, that the going rate's between 9 and 15%. Y'all awarded 2 new contracts recently that was, well, they were 8%, so between 8 and 15%. City just awarded one that was 15 for full-time resident, that does say full-time resident inspection. And if we would have charged 15% to do this on a $10 million job, it would have been a $1.5 million, and the same people that come to these meetings every time, which is not an America's Ditch issue, it's a Preble Rish, Ralph Rish issue with 4 or 5 people in this community, and you're carrying the torch for them, and that's okay with me, because it just doesn't matter to me. And you said that I was willing to fix 5. It goes a lot further than that. I said we were willing to open 5 of them up to see to identify what the problem is, and then to have engineers look at the 5 and to come up with a design, a plan, or whatever. While we were there, we were going to go ahead and fix the 5 because there's no reason to cover them back up without repairing those 5 and give you some methodology how to fix the remaining ones. But, you know, it bothers me that nobody's even talking to the contractor about this. And, you know, and I'm not blaming the contractor. I'm just telling you that the contractor, you know, built the ditch, and there's been 4 or 5 months of discussion, and I hadn't heard a word about, let's talk to him about it. It's all about, you know, talking to Preble Rish about it. And so, and I understand why, you know, I mean, I'm not.
no, you don't.
No, I do.
I hold it right here.
No, Mr.
No.
Chairman, I need to
You're
finish.
out of order.
Mr. Chairman,
You are
I'm an
out of
elected
order.
official.
You are
discussing
out of
this.
order, Commissioner Bryan. Now, motion on the floor. Second, I'm going to call for a vote on this motion.
I'm going to abstain, Mr.
You
Chairman.
abstain. Fill out the proper how do you vote, Commissioner Bryan?
I vote no.
No.
And was not finished with my discussion.
How do you vote? Smiley? How do you vote, Commissioner? Yeah, and the chair votes yes. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rish.
Mr. Chairman.
Didn't call for public comment.
Rainey, come forward, please.
First of all, I thought it was procedure that before you pass a motion, you ask for public comment on it.
I did, but it was getting out of hand there. You're correct. I stand corrected.
It's all right. I just wanted to comment on it. First of all, and I've spoken about this before and said there's 3 things I would like to watch for after we had a lengthy discussion about this several weeks ago. First of all, I want to say I appreciate Mr. Rish and Preble Rish stepping forward. I think Commissioner Bryan is exactly correct. They are responsible because they are the engineer of the county engineer who approved the plan, who designed the plan, and who permitted the plan to do this. So that's number 1. And the issue, as Mr. Rish said, he's going to dig up 5 of them, fix 5 of them, and tell you what's going on with it. Excellent plan for as far as the 5 is concerned. He then says he will participate with the county in resolving, in identifying the other issues, what the issues are and where they go, and he would even provide the materials for that. That's in his letter. Very responsible at this point. There are, however, two issues. As Commissioner Bryan said, you got to leave it open at the end, especially Mr. Risch said he was willing to leave it open, repair, identify, and come back and negotiate and work with the county on who's going to repair the difference, what it's going to cost, and maybe even a total redesign. That's in his letter. So the only issue that I think needs to be closed out is right now in this letter memorandum agreement, he's also asking then when we've done all this, we're exonerated, or we are said we've done our job. Fair enough. But that part should be left until he comes to you with the report on where you can go and where you can't go and what the future of this is. The second issue is I'm a taxpayer. Commissioner Bryan identified all the taxpayer issues and who's been paying for 130 of these things so far as taxpayers, when we know it's a redesign and a contract problem. The other thing I ask that you address, and no one has addressed yet publicly, is this county's bid process and the performance of the county commissioners failed the taxpayer, and now the taxpayer is going to pay the difference, and I'm not hearing anybody holding anybody responsible. The bid process violated Florida statute. The contractor was not qualified to do the job, but was awarded it anyway. Preble Risch did not award that contract. This commission and this staff did the work to award that. I've seen no one talk about who did it, who's responsible. Mr. Risch said, I'd like to see somebody talk to the contractor. Very good. But the contractor, surprise, surprise, doesn't exist anymore. His company's out of business after this job. Maybe because he wasn't qualified for it for the first place. So as a taxpayer, there's three things that I think need to be accomplished. And I pay my taxes, don't misunderstand me. But I want somebody held responsible for the bid process which violated Florida statute and which gave an unqualified contractor $1 million to do a job which he wasn't qualified for. And I hear nothing about who did that, how it happened, or whatever. And as a taxpayer, you're obligated to answer that question if you expect me to pay for the deficiencies of this board and this staff.
I'll make the motion. Continue, if you would like.
Have a second on. There you go. Thank you. Thank you. Continue.
I'm almost finished, and I don't want to get irritated by it. But the basic issue is, I'm paying the taxes, and I'm paying, as long with everybody else in this county. I want someone held responsible for this fiasco. And Mr. Risch has stepped up and said, Preble Risch will do what we can to identify the problem and fix what we know to be the problem, and then come back to you and evaluate the future and where we're going and what's wrong with this design. And I would like to know what happened in the contracting process and who's going to be held responsible for the fact that we're going to spend another $500,000, pick a number. As a taxpayer, I'm going to pay for another $500,000 because of poor work by the county commission, and I know we've discussed who's there, and poor work by the staff. And Preble Risch did not award this contract to that contractor, and he's asked, where's the contractor? And the answer is the contractor doesn't exist anymore. And so that comes back to you. Those are my comments about it. And I think you're being very premature in trying to pass this motion at this point until all those issues are resolved. And Mr. Risch has asked one, where's the contractor, or what's going on here? And Preble Risch has stepped up to the plate. The only thing they're asking for is after we do what we said we're going to do, we want you to take us off the books and say, Preble Risch has done a good job. That needs to wait till he's done the repair work, estimated the cost, told you what it's going to look like, and then you decide what you're going to do about it. And that's going to be the taxpayers are paying for it. And I would say that I intend to hold every county commissioner responsible for the fact that I'm paying taxes to fix this problem when the county commission and the county staff created it. Thank you.
Mr. Graney?
Sir.
Would please. This has been an ongoing issue since I think it started in 2007.
Thereabouts.
Not hunting a way out. The only member that was sitting on the board at that time was, to my right here,
I understand all that.
McLemore, and he fought it tooth and toenail all the way.
I understand all that.
There's so much involved here, the fact, it's just like a coin. There's two sides to it. they're gonna flip one this Sunday up in the Meadowlands and decide who gets the ball. But the truth is, in situations like this, there's three sides. There's that invisible side, and that is the truth and the facts. And we beat this dog. We've done nothing here for 1 year. Now, we need to get going, as Mr. Rich plainly stated, and this board stated. He don't have to do anything. The statute of limitations, I'm not an attorney, probably has expired. If we can do anything, what we're trying to do is let's get out there and fix it and go on. But some people, I don't know if we want to fix it or if we just, I don't know if we want it fixed or we just want to use it as something to stir a pot with. I don't know that, and I hope the latter is the wrong.
I'm not interested in stirring a pot.
Thank you, sir.
I'm interested in getting it fixed, getting fixed.
I'm with you.
The fact that 4 of the commissioners are not here is irrelevant. The Board of County Commissioners is an institution with an institutional responsibility to the taxpayers. The fact that there's 4 of you here now may say something about the previous 4 and what they did. I'm not interested in that part of it. It's this commission's, it's the institution and the function of a county commission to resolve this issue, and the taxpayer is going to be asked to pay for this. That's fine. That's what taxpayers do. The point is that that this commission has to hold somebody responsible for the fact that it was screwed up from start to finish. The engineer, the county engineer, the professional engineer has offered to step up and work through this process. The only issue that I have with that, or the only issue I heard Commissioner Bryan say, is you got to eliminate the being absolved until we find out what the problem is.
Well,
and the problem is what's wrong with the 5 and who's going to fix the other 15. That's the
And Colonel
that's the
Graney,
issue.
not limiting it to 5 of the 25.
Nor am I. He's fixing 5 for a fact finding. And oh, by the way, since he's going to dig them up, as he said, since he's going to dig them up and fact find, he'll fix them before he closes them back up. He's then going to come to you with the fact finding of what it is. He's offered to pay for the materials for the remaining 15 or 20, whatever they are. He's offered to pay for that in his letter, provide the materials. But quite frankly, I don't think anybody knows where it's going to go until he finishes his fact finding. And that's the issue. So that's the issue of the last paragraph in that letter that I saw.
Well, and our public works folks have already dug up 130, so we know what's going on for the most part.
Yes, ma'am. And the county taxpayers have already paid for the 130. I would like to hear Mr. Danforth's opinion publicly. He's the guy who fixed the 130, and I would like to hear what the Public Works Department says about this. Anyway, I do not have an axe to grind on this issue, and I'm not doing it to stir it up. It needs to be fixed and fact found and fixed right. And the facts to be found are what's wrong with it, who did it, how are we fixing it, fixing the who did it, who's held responsible for the bid process in violation.
All right.
Those are my issues.
We got it.
And a board is an ongoing entity. It can't say because it's got new members on it that they don't have to look at what went on in the past. It's an ongoing entity, and the people who sit on it have to continue the work that was already started. It's a body,
That's
not
what
individuals.
It is a function, and it's staffed by individuals who are selected by the taxpayers. That's fine. The other 4 are gone. That's fine. That doesn't eliminate this board from the responsibility of the taxpayers in fixing it right and fixing it properly and holding people accountable.
So noted. All right.
And I would just like to note for the record that I have submitted 11 questions to the county administrator. He submitted those back to this board. This board voted to remove that information from the public information, and I still don't have the answers to those questions. They're very simple questions about how these decisions were made on awarding this contract to a contractor that was not qualified. And we have Mr. Hammond, who is an employee of the county, who was representing Preble Rish at the time. Mr. Butler was here at that time. Mr. McLemore was here at that time. We should be able to answer these questions because we have people with knowledge. And we will never resolve these problems with the way that we operate and awarding a contract like that until we get those answers, look at it, and change our process so that it doesn't happen again.
That's it. One more.
Just one comment.
Let me
Because
here, then we'll.
Not that it matters a whole lot to me, but I think if you'll do the research on this, you'll see where Commissioner Michael voted no on this project completely. I didn't like the project. I said it would never work. It was a bad deal, and I voted no. I think you need to do the research on that. Not that it matters. We're here today. That's 6, 7 years ago. Let's resolve this problem and move on.
Chair recognizes.
Just a couple of things, only because I
All
want to
right.
clear two
All right.
things that Tom said. Because this is the way I've watched TV and I see things like this happen all the time up here, and somebody doesn't clear it up, and so it makes it to the newspaper the next week, just, the way he just quoted. But he quoted two things that were not accurate. Number one is he said, quote, the contractor was paid $1 million to do this project. The contractor was paid about $345, I think. It was $1 million project because they bought $700,000, I think, in pipe. So that was one thing. The second thing is he said that in the memorandum of understanding, that the last sentence said that you would basically indemnify me from here on. And I took that out, or your attorney took that out of the memorandum of understanding. That's not in there. It's not in there. So if you want to bring it back up, after we fix these and let's talk about it again, then we took it out of there. It does not say in there that you're going to relieve me of all responsibility after I get through with these 5. I put that in my letter, and your attorney took it out. So Tom's absolutely incorrect about saying that it's in the memorandum of understanding. It is not.
I think he meant the letter, but I don't understand why you chose 5.
Well, I'll do
He
one.
could have
I
said
just want to
one.
make sure that we get a cross-section of
There
what's
you go.
going on, because one may be that that the seals are rolled in it. One may be that the seals I've heard from your staff that they're finding seals in the bottom of the trench, which makes me believe somebody had to take the seal out before they put the pipe together. It couldn't fall out of that pipe. But one last little thing. I gave a good analogy. I don't think you thought it was when you and I had lunch one day that I think is a good analogy when it comes to this particular problem, and that is I used the county's building department. You have a building department of 2 or 3 people. They can't go out and watch a house being built from the time that they start the foundation till they finish, or you'd have to have 25 inspectors on staff right this minute, and you'd have to pay. So you pay 1 or 2 guys to go out there when they do this part of it, when they do that part of it, when they do this part, and at the end of the construction, he's seen 4, 5, or 10 critical parts of that house being constructed. If that house falls down the next week, are you going to talk to the contractor about it, or are you going to fire your guy for the house falling down? And that's kind of the same situation we had here. We made 193 visits to that site. I went back and looked it up, and there were issues out there, but we didn't physically sit there. I hope you would think that we wouldn't sit there and watch a guy pull a seal out, lay it up under the pipe, and let him put it in there and us walk away. And so I know there's problems out there, and they're huge problems. And you're right from the standpoint that the county shouldn't have to pay for it. But you're asking me to pay for something that I didn't see the guy do, and I don't want to pay for it. But because we've worked for you for 22 years, we want to do, beyond what we think that we're responsible to do, where we can get this thing, help you out.
All right. That all?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Rich.
Wait a minute.
Quick issue. Mr. Risch is correct. I used the figure, he's exactly right. I used the figure of $1 million. That was the total cost of the whole project out of the $10 million of road bond money. He's exactly correct about that. The contractor got $350,000, give or take a few bucks. The second one was, I was going upon a public letter. I have not seen this document, and if I had seen this document, maybe I would have felt differently about it. That goes back to the next issue. No one saw this document until Sunday night. It is now Tuesday morning. Where was this document for the public to review? So that goes back to the same issue. You got to stop trying to make multi-million-dollar decisions with the 5 of you sitting around the table going, I agree with it. Okay, let's get on with it. This issue this has been a public issue for years. This issue should have been, this document which you're asking the 5 of you representing the public to pass, you have had no input from the public until that document was read, and you just got 2 from Mr. Risch and myself. And let me make very clear, if if Mr. Risch is, if it is the indemnification process of the thing doesn't occur until after the repairs and after he reports back to you and after you and the staff and Mr. Danforth get together and agree on what goes on, then I have no objection to that document as it is, but I haven't read it all. And the public needs to know what's going on before you do it. Thank you very much.
That's
and I
it.
appreciate Mr. Rich's comments. He is correct on both those issues.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else from the public?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I can, if there's no other public comment,
All right, Chair recognizes our attorney.
Mr. Chairman, just with regards to the memorandum of understanding, the instructions were to take the letter, pull out what I understood the offer to be from the engineer and place it. It's a page and a half. It's 8 provisions. You all have it, or have it provided to you. Section 4 recites exactly what was offered by Preble Risch. The section above it reads as follows, and I want to read it for the record so that the commission and the public understand. This MOU establishes the basic tenets of collaborative working relationship between Gulf County and PRI to remedy the identified issues, but does not impose a legal obligation on either party. Section 1 is the background. Section 2 is the purpose of the memorandum. Section 5 is the relationship between the parties. Section 6 is the insurance indemnification and hold harmless. Section 7 is the terms of the MOU, and Section 8 is the approvals for the signature. There is no release, there is no indemnification, there is no hold harmlesses, there's no consideration, there's no compensation, there's nothing being contributed by the county other than the approval and the signature by the chairman to authorize these 5 things to be done. There's no continuing obligation of Preble Risch, and either party is free to leave this memorandum of understanding at any time. In addition to that, I can read it for the record. Again, I was asked to take the letter and put it in a memorandum of understanding. It is not a contract, and nor is it an agreement. And I'd also ask the chairman, following the public comment, just for procedural purposes in our new ordinance, if you can then ratify your vote following the public comment that came in, and then just renew your vote for the record so it's in proper form.
Want to go back and redo the vote?
If you would, sir.
Sure. Is there any public comment before I call for a vote? All right. Place the motion on the, start your motion stand. Second stand.
My abstention.
Your abstention, be sure and sign the proper documents. No? How you vote, sir? Yes? And the chair votes yes. Motion passed. 1 abstention. 1 no, and 3 for the motion. Motion passed. Anyone else from the public? I hear the word. Hold on. Sure, Mr. Marshall, if you would, come up and address the,
Marshall Nelson, Emergency Management. As y'all know, we are under a winter weather warning right now. We just got off a conference call with National Weather Service, and it's kind of tricky where we're at. The freeze line tonight, tomorrow morning, is going to pretty much split the county in half. And so we're looking at the possibility of a little bit of freezing rain or ice to be on the roads on the north end of the county, maybe 1/10 of an inch tomorrow morning. And then through the day, it's going to warm up a little bit, but maybe up like 33 degrees, something like that. And then going back into Wednesday night and Thursday morning, it's going to be pretty much across the county. It's going to be down into the high 20s. So I do have a little bit of concern with travel, especially in the north end of the county. And of course, I got some concern with the north end of the county power outages, and the fact that the feed comes from Alabama Electric, comes down through Alabama to the co-op. So those are things that we're going to be watching. Have met with the school board, and they're going back to make a decision on what they're going to do as far as running school buses. The health department, I know the Sacred Heart Medical Group, they're all looking at closing because a lot of their patients and a lot of their employees come from Mariana, Bluntstown, up in that area and down. But pretty much the hardest hit area is going to be across Bay County, Jackson County, and north of there. But something that we want to keep a real close eye on. So.
Thanks, Mark.
Motion adjourned stands. Meeting adjourned.